Today on the workbench I've got a new project here. This is a Southern Pacific AC5 and it is a cab forward unit. So it is a 4882 configuration. It's the same thing as the B&O 2884s, other than backward. So anyway, we'll jump right into this thing. I've got a Soundtraxx steam decoder that I'm going to put in it. I've got a Soundtraxx current keeper that I'm going to put in it. I'm not sure what speaker that I'm going to use in it. I want to put a scale sound system up here in the boiler, and then one or two here in the tender. So this does have the Paragon 3 sound in it. Actually, this has the Quantum sound in it. So this is an older locomotive. The only lighting that we're going to do to it is I'm going to put a new LED headlight in it. So this should be, and I'll jinx myself once I say it, but it should be a relatively simple install. I've never taken one of these apart, so I'll have to see how that comes apart. And yeah, I guess we'll just go ahead and get into it. I'm going to take this tender apart first, because it looks like, so I bought this used, so it's missing a screw. It's already got KD couplers in it. So somebody's been in this thing and evidently taken it apart before. So we'll see what kind of mess we have here. Hopefully none. I haven't run this, so I don't know if it runs. It's an odd configuration. Of course, we've got our electrical pickups. That's our board. So it looks like, okay, the front slides out. The rear does not. At least I don't think it does. I'm going to assume, let's assume that everything comes out the front. There's the speaker. Huh. That's kind of neat. Boy, they've got that little cardboard tube. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and unplug the track pickups. That'll at least get us away from that. I think all of it, yeah, just slides out the front. Okay. Well, that's neat. Got a weight up here on the top. Then we've got our switch. I think one of these is volume, and the other is to maybe for the smoke. I'm not sure what that switch is for. I'd have to look that up. But either way, we're going to eliminate it. I'll also be putting in a Decoder Buddy in this, so hopefully I should be able to use this same board, or not board, but the mounting holes. So if you hear something kick on and off here after a while, it's my air conditioner. Just wanted to kind of throw that out there now. There's no need for me to keep that intact, as I just throw these boards away. I will keep that connector though, and I'll keep the speaker off of it and those connectors. But this doesn't have 2004 is the date on that. So this thing's 20 years old. So I'll pull these screws off. Get rid of that. We don't need that anymore. But I will keep the screws. So that sits in there like that. There's nothing that holds that in there at all. That just slides back and forth. So okay, so that sits in there. It really couldn't go anywhere with as much stuff's in it. But all right, I've got the tender apart, and I'm not going to try to take the locomotive apart yet, but I need to dig out some supplies here, so I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I've got a plan here what I'm going to do, and I've went ahead and I've started wiring this thing. And it's kind of convenient because this weight from the tender, you know, the whole thing slides out. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and put on 2 speakers, taped them down with double-sided tape, started wiring. So I'm going to have 3 speakers in this. There's going to be one up in the front of the locomotive. And so the way I'm hooking these up, this is called series parallel. And I'll show you a picture of it. And you can see this is from the SBS for DCC website. So if I can get the glare off of it. But there's the wiring diagram. And then if you see it, when this is all done, it comes out to 12 ohms. So what I've done is I've taken the positive, connected it to each speaker. From the positive went down to the decoder buddy. Now for the other side, I've taken the negative to the negative on the first 2 speakers, and when I go to hook the speaker up in the boiler, I'll go from the negative. This negative will go to the positive side of the next speaker, and then the negative side will come back and hook up to the board here. So that's the way that'll hook up. The other thing I've hooked up is I've installed the Keep Live. So that sits right there. I've put double-sided tape on that. Of course, I've got a Decoder Buddy Mini, and I've got 1,000 ohm resistors. I've put 4 of them on. That one's for the rear light, headlight, and then 2 function lights. But I'm only going to have the headlight. I don't think the number board's light on this locomotive, so I may not have anything else. But yeah, what this will do is when I go to assemble it, I can just, and I'm not going to put it all together right now, but I can just slide this right down in, and I'm caught on a wire right there now, but that'll slide right down in, and if I need to, I can pull it right back out, and we're good to go. So that's where we're at so far. Of course, I've got 1 screw in it holding the Decoder Buddy Mini down. But yeah, right now we're working out pretty well. I've got the wiring harness back out here. I'm going to take the locomotive apart and figure out what the rest of my wires are. And then I'll be back to show you what I've done. Okay, I wanted to show this for those curious as to how to get this boiler off. So we'll pull this sand dome off, and I've already done this before, but so we'll pull this. There's 1 screw. Let me get you a better frame. There's 1 screw here, and you can just pull right up on that sand dome. The other one is back here in the cab. Now, once you get this loose, you can kind of move this around, and that'll loosen up the roof of the cab. So you can pull that off. Of course, this opens up too. But with that open, you can look down in there, and there's a screw you can see in the floor of the cab. So right there, in the floor of the cab is that Phillips screw. So let's pull that one out, and then this. So a little bit of finesse, that'll come right out. You can lift that off. So we've got our LED bulb, our headlight, and I was right, these are not lighted, these number boards. Well, I guess in a way they're lighted. They're lighted off of the, oh no, that is a separate function. Okay, never mind. I was wrong. So we do have a light for the number boards, and for some reason there is some glue or something up here on this cab, but I'll get that off. So I'll probably put an LED in that. That way that'll light that better. We'll remove that. And I think they just plug in. Yeah, they just plug in right there. That one runs underneath. All of that runs underneath. There is a smoke box in this. I'm going to take that out. I don't like to put the oil in there. I don't like the smoke coming out. So I'm going to go ahead and wire this thing up. Of course, we plug in back here underneath this walkway. So I'll do what I'm going to do here, and then I'll come back, because I want to try to save this board. I got to figure out what my wiring connections are, so I'll end up plugging my harness in, and I'll go ahead and do that now. If I can pick that up. So that plugs right in. And now I can go ahead and figure out what what is what here. So, all right, I'll be back here at some point. Okay, so I've put the decoder on this and I did test it. It does work. So let me pull this decoder off. Be real careful here. Okay, so let me get out my little wiring diagram. So this is what I've drawn up for this. This is from left, if you're looking at the front of the locomotive, straight on, to the left we have track pickup, motor positive, light negative. Then on the right hand side we have right track pickup, motor negative, and light positive. So that's the drawing for that, and this is what that equates to. So, and I will make this a little neater before I plug it up. It does run. It runs in the right direction. The headlight works. The number board light comes on once you turn track power on. And so, of course, this is only a 6-pin plug. So I've used up all of my wires. Now, what I'm thinking about, I actually need 3 more wires. Especially if I want to take and separate this light for the number boards. So I need 1 more wire for that, because I can use the positive off of the headlight, and that'll be fine. The other thing I need is I need to get my speaker in here, and I want to put it up here where this smoke box is. So I need 2 wires for that. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'll have to get me a little another wiring harness and put in, but that'll be for another day. So I'll be back after I get that done, and then we'll go from there. Okay, I'm back on this locomotive, and I went ahead and I put everything back together. I had this all apart to make sure about my speaker, because I was going to mill out where the smoke unit goes, and I didn't like that option. So what I ended up doing, I ordered another speaker, and I'm going to put it underneath this board up here in the front. Because the other thing I thought too was, well, if I'm putting a speaker back here, you know, it's so close to the tender, you're really not going to be able to separate the sounds that you hear from, you know, within this far, within 2 inches of distance. So I wanted to move the speaker more forward toward the cab. And so I went ahead and I've got this small scale sound system speaker that I can put in, and it will fit right underneath this board. So I'm going to go ahead, and I didn't show the disassembly process for this locomotive when I started it. So I started this, I got away from it for a while, put it all back together, and then now I'm basically starting over again. So what I'll end up doing is to wire up the speaker and the lights. I've bought this TCS 6-pin mini connector, and you can see the part number right there. And of course, like I say, I've got the other scale sound system speakers, so there'll be three speakers in this locomotive. So we'll remove this this deck up here. That way we can get our wiring harness in. I do want to reuse this board, but let's go ahead and we'll take this apart. So what we've got, one screw in the front. I always want to call that the back since that tender hooks up the other way. But so our lights up here, we just have two small connectors for our lights. You can hear my air conditioner kick on and off. So let me unplug. Like I say, I do want to reuse this board. That'll keep the wiring down. Or, yeah. So there's that. Now the motor leads are soldered fast to this thing. So normally this just goes right in here. Of course, I've put back in the screws too. For this screw right here is under the sand dome on the locomotive. Now I did show pulling that off. So I didn't feel the need to go back and do that. But this space right here, just in front of that gear tower, gotta get that bag open, is big enough. This is one of the smallest U-fit speakers that JT has, so that will give me plenty of room in there to put that speaker. So we'll go ahead and pull that out, get it out of the way. And I could have got a taller one if I'd have needed a taller one, but, well, actually, no, I couldn't have gotten a taller one. Never mind. But that will work right there. Let's see. I'm going to try to leave that together. So now, let me do this. Just to make this easier, probably, to pull this front off. Just go put that screw in there a little bit so that board doesn't flip-flop around. But we'll flip this over, and there I'm going to have to redo that black wire to the motor. It came off. But I'll turn this upside down here, and we'll go ahead and we'll start to take the front off of this thing. So I'm going to pull this front truck off, and you'll see why here in a second once I get this off. So we'll get that out of there. Leave that in there. I'm going to pull this screw off. Oop. Or out, not off. And if I remember right, that should let me pull and pull that right off. So here's what I'm really wanting to get to. So this is the connector, the 6-plug connector for the tender that hooks to the front and rear, or to the front light, and that the number boards. But what I want to do is I want to take this TCS connector, and I'll open this up here real quick. And we're going to use this same plug, or this plug. I'll put the female end up here just like this one. But I want to run my wiring through all of this just like they have this run through here. So to get this front assembly off, now I'll go ahead and I'll pull this board out again. To get to the screw down in here. And you can see I've already removed that drive shaft. I just never put it back in when I had this apart. So that'll come out. We've got that little spring that goes in there. And I believe that was it. Oh, let me unplug this wiring harness. And I'll also unplug, this is the track pickups. And I did mark that with that little black dot right there. And I've put a little black dot on that. That way I know that it goes in that connector right there. So now we can pull that off, and of course we can set this whole assembly aside. And now I'm going to pull this pipe out of here that just loosely fits in. I'll loosen, actually I don't think I need to loosen this screw up, but I will loosen these two screws up. That way I can run my wiring back through here and it'll be all tucked in nice and neat. And then we can go ahead and we can start assembling everything. We'll try to do this without removing that. I don't know how that'll work. I may end up having to run these wires, 2 or 3 at a time. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take this out. As much as I don't want to. Well, at least maybe I can run that through there now. I can see 4 of them. It's always got to be one. There it is. So I've got them that far. Secure that back down. That's all free in there. That way I know I don't have anything hitting. Now this may, and probably will, stick out just a little farther than the original. Let's see what that'll look like. So I've got to run it down in between a couple of those. So yeah, I think that'll work out. That'll work out well once I get all the wires straightened out where they need to be. Okay, so I got that all tucked in there nice and neatly. Now we've got a slew of wires in that thing. So we're ready to start putting this back together. That out of the way. We'll bring our locomotive back in here. Start running some of these wires up through. Yep. Should have done this first. Right, so all that's lined back up. That out of the way. And I'll put this drive shaft in here in a second. But at least it's not going to fall apart on me now. So I'm going to pull this cap off. I can't see the thing. I should have put it or taken it and took it off. Yep. Let's do this the easy way. Let's pull this screw back out because it's not hard to put in. And I'll lift this off here again, no big deal. And then I can pull that cap off. So there we go. Now, have to watch these wires that I don't disconnect that from the motor. If I do, it's no big deal, but it just causes extra work. Okay, there's that. Now for the drive shaft, or the worm gear and the drive shaft, let's say that. Okay. Well, there we go. All back together. Get our cap back on, so we're good to go there. Now, I could put this front deck on, but I'll wait. That way, in case I have to maneuver anything around here. What I think I will do is try these lights out. That way, in case I don't need to change them out. Well, anyway, turn this around. So I can go ahead, I'll put some wire on this speaker, get it ready to go, and then I can mount it down. So I'll clean that out. And this is series parallel is what this will be called. And I've done this before. Put 3 speakers in a locomotive. I think that little that Challenger that I had, I put 3 speakers in it and did the same wiring, but it was only a short. I didn't do a whole video install on that one. So let's see. Let me get out my... Actually, I may use some of this wire I have left over from a Keep Alive. That way I'll be able to... I'll know what I've got. And I'm going to use my white wire, and then I'll just pick one of these other wires at random to use. I want to make sure these are long enough. Well, they're not. Okay. So I need to get me some wire out, splice this together, get my speaker ready to go. And so let me do that, and then I'll be back in a second and I'll show you what I'm doing. Okay, so I've added some wires here to this speaker, mounted it down. Now I'm going to go ahead and try to get my board put back in here. And then I'll try to explain this speaker wiring. I did unplug these lights and was playing with them for a little bit. I just wanted to look at them real quick. But let me get this screw back in this board. So I haven't done anything with the lights yet other than take one out. Oh. So my speaker wires I'm going to run up through that same hole as the track pickups. And we'll take that out. Plug that back up. Oh. Well, third time's a charm. Let's pull that back off. Let's start plugging some of this other stuff in. There's that connection. That connection. Now, for now, once again, I think I've got it all plugged up. So I'll have that. So I know I'll use the white wire here, and I went ahead, get some of that stuff out of the way. I plugged this harness together. So I'll use my white wire for one side of the speaker, and then I'm going to use the wire right beside of it. Get my fingers on it. I've already taken and stripped it. That way I'll be able to use my meter to go through this mess and find which wire I need for the speakers. So this is a picture of, and that's probably in the, there we go. So that's a picture of this series parallel wiring. So the one I'm working on is LS3 down there at the bottom. So I'm going to use the white wire to run over to one side of the speaker. So I'll be able to hook it up now. So we might as well go ahead and do that. But first I'm going to take that and I'm going to run it up through this jumble of wires here. That way it'll be able to keep it locked inside. And I'll actually run that through that loop of wire on that motor. So I'll hook this together, and then we'll figure out what wire we need. Well, I know what we need. So let me cut this off just a little bit. And I'll strip get that, get this stripped and tinned, and I'm working all off camera. So and I'll put some heat shrink on that once I get this together, or once I get it tinned. So there's that. Got this piece here. So let me run it on this side. And I'll get a set of clamps here. Hold this. Sometimes I feel like I'm in my own way when I'm trying to put some of this stuff together. So that'll work. So heat that up. Of course, now I do have to remember which is positive and negative on this. So I've got that gray, or the white there, I mean, hooked up to this white wire. And of course I've got my decoder buddy here with my other speakers. So according to the diagram, I need to go to, from this number 2, and my number 2s on this would be the negative side of this speaker. So, well, actually, yeah, that's what it would be. It'd be the negative side. So the negative side is the black wire. That will run to that terminal right there. So I don't need to hook it up yet. That'll be this black wire here. Now this white wire that I've got, so that is the positive side. So it needs to run to the negative side of these speakers, which is this black and white wire here. So what I'll end up doing, I'll go ahead and tin that. So I've got that. Get that out of the way. I'll pull this back in, and I'll be able to hook this up right like that. to the negative side of the speakers. That'll give me that. Now I have to find this black wire in this jumble. So let me start stripping wire. I don't think I can take and just trying to kind of pull that, but that wasn't doing me any good. So like I say, we'll just strip these and I'll do them one at a time, put the meter on them, see if we have continuity. So that's not it. What are the chances that I have to go through every one of them to get this? It's not that one. It's not that one. I want to make sure that I got the right one. Okay. I'll do this a different way this time. That way I don't have to check all of them again. There it is. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put some flux on that. Clean that tip off. Okay. Now I know which one it is. I'll go ahead, cut this off. Get my heat shrink while I've got it here in my hand. Strip that wire. Like I say, this is a lot of rinse, lather, repeat in these. So go ahead and get our wire straightened out here. Okay. There's that. I'll go ahead and seal that up. Okay. Now, when I hook this up, this tangled mess up to these speakers, of course I've already got the white one hooked up. I got to tin this. We'll test this out, make sure we've got what we're looking for. And we are looking, when we get this all done, we'll be looking for 12 ohms. So, and I'm not going to take credit for that picture. That is off of the SBS for DCC website. So I'll go ahead, get this hooked in here. Now I should be reading 12 ohms right there. And if not, I have screwed something up. Or close to 12 ohms, let's say that. I've got 11.4. So we'll call that the drop in the wire. But yeah, so there's all three of our speakers hooked up. Now all I got to do to this is the lights. So the headlight, I think what I'll do for the headlight is I'm going to remove the factory resistor. I want to try, this is going to be an experiment. I'm going to remove this factory, actually it's not an experiment because it doesn't have a resistor on it. Well, alright then, so I'm not going to experiment on the headlight. That feeds over to the light for the cab lights. So I guess I could still do that. Pull this resistor out. Well, I'll have to think about that. But anyway, right now we're good to go. I'll probably hook this thing up and test it. See what we've got, make sure that the speakers work. So I'll be back here in a few minutes. Alright, so we're back. I've got the first of the LEDs in. I took the This is the factory bulb. Took the factory bulb out, and I used these are 402 bright or 402 warm white LEDs. So I've got the headlight in, and for the number boards, it's the same thing. It's a 402 bulb. I've glued it in the center. Well, Bondic is what I use for the lights. So I'm going to take and run this. It's got this little chase right here that you can see, and this is come undone a little bit. But I'm going to run this down through, and I'm going to end up cutting these wires off, so this is no big deal. But we'll go ahead and put them down through that chase. I can pull that up. I'm going to give myself a little extra, just be able to remove the cab. So I'm going to cut this factory wiring harness. Cut that. Set that aside. Now the black and red is the negative, and the solid black is positive. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll hook this up, and the way this feeds, it's going to be on constantly. It runs off a track power. So, and I thought about maybe what I really ought to do is run it off of the same leads that I have my headlight. That way they're both on. Well, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, never mind. I want to run this back off of the track power. So we'll use our other plug. I'll go ahead and strip these off. And like I say, I'll shorten these down, or shorten these a little bit on this other side. So I'll go ahead and solder this together, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I've got this hooked up, soldered together. Now, since this is constant track power, the old bulbs were 12-volt bulbs. What I'm going to do is they've used this resistor right here. This is a 330 ohm resistor. So I'm going to cut that out. Actually, I'm going to take and desolder it. That way I can reuse the holes. But I'm going to take and pull the solder out of this thing. And then I'm going to put in, this is a 2000 ohm resistor, because these are 3 volt bulbs, and I don't want them to be real bright, because the resistor for the headlight is 1000. So let me go ahead, cut that. Oh. There it is. And then I've got to get some solder and flux on this. Flux and solder, however you want to look at it. Clean that tip off. And actually I'll take and bend that over, and then that way I can see what I need. Over here. So I'm basically right on the edge of this thing. But I'm just tinning this thing up. I'll get that done. Okay. That's a little warm in the fingers. So now, I'll try, hopefully, just heat this baby up and put that right down in. There's that side. Let me bend that over a little bit. Okay. All right. There's my new resistor. Go ahead and plug this in. And then, well, I've lost my firebox. I know I'm looking right at it. But for some reason, I cannot see it. So I'm going to find it, button this thing up, and then I'll be back here in a few minutes. Well, actually, I know. I was looking right at it. It's made in, it's one piece. So, but before I put it all together, I'm going to try it all out. So I need to kind of pull my wire through. Of course, like I say, once I get that on there, we'll be good. You won't be able to see any of this. So I'll be back here in a minute. Okay, so I went ahead. The lights do work, and they're good and bright. So I'm gonna go ahead. I took and painted this light tube. I painted it all black, so we won't get any more bleed through out of it. And I'm gonna go ahead and, oh, wait a minute. I got to put my, the front back together and all that, and then I can put the shell on this thing and it'll be done. So, but I'm going to do that off camera. It'll be easier for me to do than try to show you what I'm doing. But anyway, that's where we're at. So the next time you see this, it'll be up on the test track. I'll be back. All right. I've got this cab forward up on the on my test track, and I didn't want to put it on the turntable because it is kind of big, and this way I can run it back and forth a little bit so you can see what kind of speeds I have. And really the only lighting function in it is the headlight, the front headlight, and the number boards. So the number boards I have powered on all the time. And then the light, the front headlight, of course, that's a separate function. So there, I just flip the headlight on. You could probably hear the dynamo kick on. But I'll start moving this thing forward. Of course, I got the whistle. And our bell. And so we'll just move this thing forward a little bit. And I've got it set at So we're at 128 speed steps. So this is going to be speed step 1. So there's the slow speed. Speed step 2. I'm up to speed step 5 on that. I'll go ahead and stop it right there, and I'll reverse the direction. Of course, these 3-scale sound system speakers, they make this thing pop. I hope it comes through on the video. I'm at speed step 5 right there. You'll be able to see the headlight here when I switch directions. Slow it down, we'll change direction. There's our headlight. So yeah, this was a good little project to do. And yeah, I mean, for what it is, it's fairly simple. And thanks for watching.